If you haven't been on my YouTube channel before, welcome. This is it's still fairly new, trying to record myself in front of the camera. And today I thought I want to explain about what makes Eugene Kim Photography special, as in what's different to other photographers or other wedding photography companies or brands that are out there. Three things that I like to emphasize, both in terms of the philosophy behind and also some of the techniques behind what makes Eugene Kim Photography a little bit more special. So yeah, like I said, three things. One, the experience is what matters the most, and in the experience that includes the story of the couple. Number two is it's more of a technical side of things, but I feel like it includes the first step as well, which is astrophotography. I want to say astro portrait photography. What that means is it's not something that many photographers do, just because it's quite difficult to do. As in, it's very time consuming, but that's why the first point, which makes it very valid, the experience side of things. Number three is I offer something called hybrid photography, hybrid coverage. This technique is really from Taylor Jackson. I learned everything about hybrid coverage from Taylor Jackson. So what that means is I cover photography. I'm a primarily photographer, and at the same time I will record a video, which eventually it turns into a highlight video rather than it's quite different to like a documentary style video. So, but I'll go in depth with all three of them. Hopefully not too long, because I know in the past videos, some of the videos I recorded, that I did overspoke and it made a very lengthy video. So we'll try to avoid that for this one. So number one, experience. At the age of all the AI develops into technology, photography is no different. You probably have seen a lot of the AI generated photography and all that sort of stuff. And nowadays, taking a good picture is, I believe, is not too difficult. Camera is a lot better than what it was a long time ago. All the software and all the support that we get on the computer side is definitely very helpful. So making a perfect image, like when we're shooting, is almost no longer a necessity to develop into a good photo. Even about medium photography, it will become a pretty good photo when it's well developed, well edited. So, not saying a good photographer is hard to get. There's still a ton of amazing photographers, and I try to improve on a daily basis to get better at it. But what I'm saying is, the experience, the whole day of taking picture, whether it's for an engagement session that we go out. So I go out quite a lot to national parks to do an engagement session, whether that being Death Valley, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, to name a few. Joshua Tree I go quite often as well, even internationally. So this year I've been to Italy, Switzerland, Iceland on a workshop, but I've been to Iceland for that as well. So yeah, all those things, we do this, but this whole photography session is not just about taking good photos. It's about you as a couple enjoying the day while we're taking the picture. So my philosophy behind a lot of these sessions is oftentimes a little bit longer than other photographers would offer. If it's like an hour session in, I don't know, in San Francisco, for example, I would offer a 3-hour session. That doesn't mean that we'll cover a lot more photos than someone who's offering 1-hour session. But in that 3-hour sessions, what we're doing is, if you're not from San Francisco, let's say maybe just a groom, your fiance is living in San Francisco and you live somewhere else, but you happen to visit him in San Francisco and you want to do the photos in San Francisco together. In that time, I'm also showing you around. You guys are having a good date day or date night, depending on depending on when we do it, what time we do it, and you get to really enjoy the city. And we go to all these cool spots to take the photos. Usually, the places to take photos are usually cool spots, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. So yeah, so just being able to do a lot more than just taking photos is oftentimes something that a lot of couples do enjoy. I'll move directly into the second point actually. And so this image is a couple who I did an engagement session with in Death Valley, and we did an overnight shoot. The reason that I did an overnight shoot is Death Valley is one of the best places to view a night sky. But that usually happens during the summer. Death Valley during the summertime is really a place you shouldn't be going. Is very hot, is very miserable. It will be very difficult to get a good photos in terms of good emotions with a lot of smiles, just because you're miserable. The way I structured this session was, of course, it was in May, so it wasn't as hot as, let's say, in July or August, but still it was pretty hot. And in May, depending on so I have thanks to, I actually forget his name. I'll put his name or his account underneath, Dan something. But yeah, he's a specialized person for taking astrophotographers. So he's probably one of the guys that I look up to the most in terms of when it comes to the astrophotography. And he puts out this calendar every year, depending on where you are on the planet Earth, that you can see the Milky Way. To be specific, the galactic center. So the Milky Way exists throughout the whole year, but the galactic center, where is at the deepest darkness and deepest colorization happens, you can usually only see it during the summertime. So in the northern hemisphere during our summer, which is like May through August or June through September, in the southern hemisphere during their summer, which is like November through February, I think. Yeah, it's usually always hot. And the easy way to take this sort of photo in places like Death Valley or anywhere is for me to go and take the astro photo by itself, even without the couple, and take the picture of the couple being there, and then I composite them, which is not that difficult of a technique. And this will always come to your decision whether that's something that you want to do. But what I like to do is to go of when the Milky Way is up, without the moon, hopefully without the clouds, and we drive out to Death Valley, and we find the perfect spot that we can see the Milky Way, and the couple gets to experience with me. This couple, for example, said to me they've never seen a Milky Way. At least if they have seen it, they probably have not recognized it, because usually a lot of places that we are surrounded by a lot of lights. So even the Milky Way is up, oftentimes it's very difficult to see it with naked eyes. Where in some places like in Death Valley, because it's so dark and there's no light around, you can definitely see the Milky Way with naked eyes. And this was their first experience, seeing the Milky Way together, and it's something that they will cherish for the rest of their life. It's an experience that not someone can have on a daily basis, just because there's a lot of calculation that goes into this, to shooting this shot. And also, one of the techniques that I have for taking something like this is, even this shot itself is not a composite, it's just a single image. What that means is the exposure that I have for the stars and the exposure that I have for couples is quite different. And I try to make that make that balance correctly. So we may have to take a few shots, which can take even half an hour, even sometimes 1 hour. But the reason I do this in a very hard way is let the couples experience that moment together. So when the couples see that image hanging up on their wall, in their living room or in their kitchen, they get to this image takes them back into that moment of holding hands in a pitch black darkness, trying to see this Milky Way and how they felt and how they were together. It's something I feel as a photographer, something I'm very grateful that I can offer something like this to couples, and that's why I feel like this is a very valuable thing that, you know, I hope a lot more photographers do this, because I know how much it means to so many people, so many couples. We as a photographer possess a unique sort of skill set where we can see things that not any adventurers can see. So being able to offer something like that is quite amazing. And then the third thing that I mentioned earlier was the hybrid coverage. Hybrid coverage is something that I just thought, when I first heard from Taylor Jackson. He's a very well-known photographer, wedding photographer who photographed over 1,000 weddings. He's based in Canada, but he's also a YouTuber. So if you search on YouTube, he will pop up, and he probably has the most number of followers out of any wedding photographers. So yeah, he's very well versed. But he's a guy who preached the sort of like the highlight coverage. And I honestly just started because it was just a way to gain more clients. Because as someone who can do both photography and videography together, is something that, because not many photographers can do that. If they were to book two separate companies, for one for photography and one for videography, then obviously the cost will be a lot higher too. So I thought it was just a good way to kind of get in front of a lot more clients. But now that I've done hybrid coverage for about 3 years, what I'm realizing is what the highlight video offers, and what photography offers is actually quite different. Photography is oftentimes, a lot of the images are often look good when it's finalized pose. For example, there are a lot of in-between moments as well, of course, these days, but usually the one that gets hung up on the wall, usually one that makes sort of like as a main image of the gallery, of your online gallery, is oftentimes during the ceremony, probably the most epic one would be the first kiss. So you may walk down the aisle together, you might celebrate while you're walking down the aisle, and all those in between moments are amazing too. But oftentimes photo is usually the finalized version of that sequence. On the other hand, video is something that we capture in between the moments. So usually taking a video of someone just kissing and holding that kiss it still looks good. I'm not saying either or doesn't look good, but it looks better when it's like in the movement, when there is movement, and when there is something that's happening. Even the wind is blowing. If the couple's kissing, and if all the guests are cheering and celebrating, that looks good. But so what I'm saying is, video is usually in between moment. Photo is usually the moment. So when I do them together, is one, because I'm the only one who does both photo and video, the focal length that I use, the style that I edit are quite similar. So they almost complement each other. If, let's say, I was to take video and I transition that into photo, what you see in the video will transpire into photos. And what that means is when you get the finalized gallery, finalized online gallery, the highlight video that I create and the rest of the photo galleries you see, they give completely different emotional effect. Hybrid coverage is usually done in slow motion, and usually the length is usually about 2 to 4 minutes. It's not super long, but the emotion that you can get, the impact that you get as soon as you get the video edited is quite amazing. You feel the same emotion that you got on the wedding day, and I've seen many couples get emotional from watching their videos. Photos, on the other hand, they still look amazing, but the emotional impact that you get on the day of is not as strong as the video. But when the time goes by, video impact, the emotional impact gets, I want to say it gets lower and lower, just because you're watching the same thing over and over again. Whereas photo, which is a still image, which is an image that's frozen in time, there's so much to that one single moment. Looking at that one image, you get to think about how you felt, what you smelled on that day, whether that was a perfume or a cologne, or whether it was the food, or whether it was a sound, the background noise from outside the venue, even the smallest details that we cannot pick up on the video, you think of them in the photos. So I always feel like because I haven't been in the business for more than 10 years, I don't have any clients to tell me that, like even the 10 years pass, that these photos look amazing, or these photos gets better like after the time goes by. Hopefully that will do that to you. But the way I feel like what photography does to a lot of people is almost lock all those memories and vibes and all the feelings into that single moment, single image. That's why I think the photography becomes so special. And that's why when I do hybrid coverage, I like having that emotional impact at the very beginning through movies, and later down the year with the photos. That's photos that you can show it to your generation, your younger kids probably at that moment, probably 20 years, or when you get a little bit older, showing to grandchildren as well. Hopefully it'll be timeless in that way. But yeah, so that's what I feel like. Even there aren't that many hybrid coverage photographer out there. A lot of people have learned from Taylor Jackson, so there are more and more photographers doing it right now. But I feel like what I try to capture as a hybrid coverage photographer will be quite different to what other photographers are offering. So yeah, that's what makes it a little bit different to what other photographers are, and how they operate. So yeah, hopefully that helps you understand who I am as a photographer and who I am as someone who can capture your day. But yeah, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I know I said hopefully it won't be too long, but sorry, it was a little bit long. I can get a little rambling, but there's a ton of other videos. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, there'll be a lot of videos that you can watch that will help you understand a little bit more about how I operate as a Eugene Kim Photography, as a wedding photographer who can potentially take photos and video for your weddings. But yeah, if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, shoot me a text, leave a comment below, all that fun stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to get back to you as soon as possible. But thank you for watching. Okay, bye.